One crucial difference between senior care and child care is that it might just come out of blue for
Mm.
senior care. One day before I was living in the US, day after, I had to fly back, and then this whole thing started. I work at a nursing home to get more hands-on experience. 80% of the seniors in their 70s have smartphones.
Now, are they like on TikTok, like just watching, like Gen
Actually,
Z? Why should the startup idea be personal?
yeah, that's a very good question.
Okay, Yuta is the founder of CareVo, a pioneering platform reimagining senior care in Japan. After building a successful career at Snowflake, where he improved financial forecasting algorithms and developed core finance data pipelines, Yuta made the bold decision to found CareVo after experiencing firsthand the challenges of being a family caregiver. CareVo aims to transform how seniors and family caregivers navigate their care journeys through an innovative mobile platform, starting with their first service in Yokohama. So, Yuta, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me today.
Okay, sounds good. We can jump right into the questions then. So, the first question is a bit personal, but could you walk us through that pivotal moment where you learned about your mother's diagnosis of MSA back in 2020 to flying back suddenly a couple years later? How has that experience eventually transformed into your vision for reimagining senior care?
So I was working at Snowflake. I started my career in the Bay Area. So I my parents lived in Yokohama, Japan, close to Tokyo, but I was away from my parents for college period and also the work period. So the first 2.5 years I was working in the Bay Area, and they
Mm,
eventually came back to Japan to take care of my mom. So that's the kind of background, like information about me.
mm,
But so about the diagnosis, MSA diagnosis, I actually heard about it in 2020. Of course, like you remember during that period, that was the during the Corona period,
mm,
right? So
yeah.
I was working. So that was actually 2020 December.
Mm,
So after the COVID, it's like okay, we finally got through the year. Like let's see what 2021 brings, and that's when
yeah.
I actually heard about my mom's MSA
Mm.
diagnosis.
Sorry to interrupt, but can you explain what MSA is for our audience?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So it's multiple system atrophy.
Okay.
Um, it's a combination of Parkinson and small brain and automatic system. So
Mm,
those parts just go wrong, and so it's a neurological disorder. So my mom's currently the situation. She can't really stand up. She just needs help wherever she wants to go. She can't really hold herself. So she always has to like just hold on to something if she
mm,
wants to stand up, and she can't stand up for probably like more than 30 seconds. Just going back to 2020. So that's when I heard about it, and she was totally like, doing her day-to-day life very normal. She was cooking, she was doing laundry, she was doing totally fine, but at the same time, I guess like she started to like fall a little bit, like or like trip something, and like I guess like that caused my dad to take her to the hospital, and that's when the diagnosis actually were found.
mm, mm,
Uh, like 2020, that was still during the Corona time. I couldn't really fly back to Japan like right away, right?
mm,
So, and I was also far away from home. I just couldn't really do anything about it. And I couldn't really see how my dad's or taking it, my mom's taking it. So it was just I felt very powerless, but at the
mm,
same time, there's really nothing like there's nothing I can do other than just talking with them. I couldn't really understand their day-to-day life and how things are different from like 2015 when I was still at home.
mm,
Uh, so that's the start of this journey, I guess. And 2021, actually, I went back to Japan for 2 months. I That's the maximum I could do under the U.S. visa limitation. So I came back and I spent 2 months with my parents, and it was nice. my dad and mom, like my both of them were taking a walk every single day, and I tag along with them as often as I can.
Mm.
And it was just like, she was walking totally fine, just going up the hill, going down the hill. Sometimes she needed a little bit of help, just like holding my hands or holding my dad's hands, but she was doing like having a pretty normal life is
Mm.
what I'm gonna say. Um, and then so that was like back in 2021, and I was like, okay, like maybe she'll be fine. Like she's diagnosed as MSA, and but she's of course like that's very hard because like
Mm.
um have like knowing that she won't be able to have like the life that she used to have,
Mm.
and that's not gonna happen in the near future.
Mhm.
That's very difficult to take, and also as a family member it's very hard to process,
Yeah.
and also like hard to understand how to go with that, just how to talk with her, how to process it as a
Mm.
family. uh,
Mhm.
so that's the situation, and but things really changed in 2022 when so I was like I was about to start a you know regular day work
Mm.
day, and then I got a phone call from my mom,
Mm.
and just like I just didn't pick it up because I was about to start working, and but she called me once again, and I was like, okay, something's wrong, and so I just picked it up and found out that my dad actually passed away.
Oh.
uh, so it was I mean like I don't mean to be emotional, but
Mm.
it was it's just very hard to lose
Yeah.
your family, and I cried that cried like super hard, and
Mhm.
probably like I hadn't been crying for quite a long time, right? uh, But anyways, that's when like I was like 80% sure I have to fly back to Japan. It's like one way to get to Japan.
Mm.
Um it's interesting because like I was just talking with my dad just one day before. He was totally fine. And the next day just, you know, he's no longer
Mhm.
here.
It was
So
very sudden. It.
yeah, I'm an only child, and my mom lives in Yokohama, but our relatives don't live in Yokohama. I mean, in
Mm.
Tokyo, but it's like kind of one hour away, and it's like, there's really no one she can just rely on other than me.
Mm.
So just made a move back to Japan. Just like I took a COVID test, I just fly back to Japan, and then the next starting next day, just like okay, now I have to take care of my dad's stuff. He was a tax accountant, so and that was during the tax period, so like I had to take care of his stuff, and also like his funeral, and then like my work, and then also my mom.
Good. So this is like back in 2020, you flew back. Your life kind of took a 180 there. You kind of had to drop everything that you built up, with hard work as well in the States to come back to take care of your mom who needed you by her side, right? And you also needed to take care of your home as the only child as well. Um, and I'm sure the months and years following that has been to take care of your mom, right? Can you explain how that transition was during that process? Like, what were things that you kind of had to learn, or like, what was the new routine that you had to kind of get into?
Right. So, of course, like I also had like work with the
Mm.
side, right? So I was like working, care professionals, like home care people come in, take care of my mom for like an hour or so. They go back and then like prepare like meals for like, my lunch for myself and for my mom, and then just keep working while like, like she's doing something like watching TV or so, and then sometimes just talk to her. And then just like go to take a walk together when we can, when it's not raining, or when I have more availability, and then just like eat dinner, watch some TV, go to bed. That was kind of the daily routine that
Mm.
I had. It sounds pretty easy if
Mm.
like describe it, just like just like day started, just work a little bit, and then home care person comes in. It sounds very easy, but it's not really the case. You
Mm,
know, times like she calls me while I'm working, just like multiple times. I mean, she lost her husband. That's like very emotionally difficult when she's having like MSA. Um, she always wanted to have someone by her side. So I also had to be not just the physical carer, but also like emotional carer, right? Um, and then just always cooking, like cleaning, like laundry, all the stuff. I mean, it's like, raising a kid. I'm just thinking it's very similar, but one crucial difference between senior care and child care is that it might just come out of blue for
mm,
senior care. Like I had no prep when starting it. Like one day before I was living in the West, day after I had to fly back, and then this whole thing started. So that's the big difference for me. But navigating the home care was actually the most difficult time for me. Like bouncing, like balancing my work, my care for my mom, um, all the house chores, and it's just very time consuming, emotionally draining, and I actually like after 5 months I burned out.
mm,
And had I talked to doctor and had to have my mom in the hospital for 2 months as a respite care. Um, that was a very difficult decision for me because I wasn't sure if that's the right like treatment that she wants to get.
yeah.
You because I was seeing her health declining, like right after I came back, like of course, like emotional damage that she had to go through. That was a lot, but there's
Mm,
nothing I could really do, and I was
mm.
like, what am I supposed to do? Am I doing this correctly?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Um, So that was one of the experience I had, and I was like, okay, hospital, is it the same thing? It's like when she comes out, like maybe my mental health will be okay, but will she be physically, okay? Will she be emotionally okay? So that's like kind of the struggle that I had. And event like, at the end of the day, like she was staying in hospital for 2 months. If I had like more supportive systems
Mm,
to take care of her and also for myself,
yeah.
maybe able to avoid the respite care at a hospital for 2 months, and maybe she was able to have longer, like healthier life at
Mm,
home. So that home care experience was like basically like the, I guess like pivotal moment
mm,
for me, or like defining moment to start CareVo. It's like how can families, like of course like seniors and the families have more healthier, like sustainable care. Uh,
mm,
so like I think you experience like three challenges as a family caregiver. So like one is like you need more physical help. Japan has something we call care insurance, 介護保険. So
mm.
you can get a lot of help from care insurance, but you have 24 hours, 8 hours you're sleeping. You have 16 hours left, right? And then home care, maybe they come in for like an hour.
Oh,
That's 15 hours left, right?
okay.
Day service, you can, like my mom was we're going to day service and they spent like, she spent like 3 to 5 hours there, but
Mm,
still that's like 10 hours at home. So, and that keeps just going, right? Like one day ends, next day starts. Just
mm,
like 10 hours with her. So that was very, also like emotionally draining because like I was the only one taking care of her, right?
yeah.
So I thought like, family caregivers needed more physical help,
Mm,
like mental, like emotional help. Um, also like navigate how to navigate the care journey, you need more information. Uh,
Mm,
and when I came back, I just literally I didn't know anything about care insurance. I didn't know anything about the like services that my mom were using when my dad was still here.
mm,
Uh, so it's like, just having information will be helpful, just like to, make sure that you're making the decision that you're comfortable with,
mm.
you're confident about. Um, so
You mentioned the decision to put your mom in respite care must have been a very tough one, and you must have felt like you didn't know everything, but you're in the moment, you're also facing burnout, right? So it's like you don't have the capacity anyways. But so you're when you say mental, like or psychological or like just information, it's like making sure that you're informed well enough to make the educated decision, is what you're saying.
also like it's as a family caregiver, you
Mm,
want like emotional support as well.
hmm.
Like
That's
maybe
true.
be your friends, it could be someone who's going through the same experience.
Mm,
I never really met someone who is taking care of seniors with MSA, and I wish I knew someone like that so that I can hear their experiences, how things, or like what's happening at their
mm,
house. Um, just knowing those and then having someone I can just talk to
mm,
with a similar experience, that would have been super helpful for me.
mm,
Um,
mm.
so those are like, physical support, emotional support, and also information. Those are the things that I want to tackle.
Mm.
Um, in CareVo. So
I see. I see. And for CareVo, I know it's still in the very, very early stages, and you kind of are developing this idea and this startup through your own experience. But right now, at this stage, what are services or products, or what is the thing that do you think you can provide through CareVo?
yeah, so I'm trying to build the marketplace
Mm,
right now. So connecting seniors and care professionals or just people without any licenses. So
mm,
in senior care, you need to have a care license to be able to work in the industry. But at the same time, like one, there's a shortage of care professionals in Japan, and
mm,
two is people without license can help in a significant
mm,
way in senior care. For example, like my mom, like when I was like, out working and my mom was just like, just by herself at home. And, she wanted to have dinner. She had to open up the fridge and grab meal that I cooked, right? And then just eat by herself. Um, that opening up the fridge could be just like itself a risk
mm,
for her to fall, and two, just like eating by herself, like maybe it's just one day, but you know um that's also like a very sad, like emotionally, it's like if someone was there to eat with her, that'd be nice. So like, and that's something like you know anyone can do. Well,
mm,
I'm not gonna say anyone because like they would come into my house, but so that there would be the trust issue.
mm,
But what I'm trying to say is like, um people without license can help in a significant way.
mm,
So that's the platform that I'm trying to create. And at the same time, like marketplace, like physical, help is crucial, but it's not going to cover everything. So what I'm trying to build is like, for the users to be able to connect with each other so that they can share their tips, they can share their concerns. Maybe they can find people with similar background, and kind of that. So like that goes like through the emotional support as well as getting more information. Uh,
mm,
so like not just because the platform, um, the marketplace platform will have people who are actually going through senior care right now,
mm,
and just being able to connect with people in the platform.
I've never been through the experience that you went through, but I imagine that it's very 고독, like very solitary emotionally because I mean you're young as well, so I don't imagine people around you have experienced something similar either. So even like I'm sure it was a case of like your entire day was about caring for your mom and your surrounding people are all doing things completely unrelated to that. And it must be hard to have found to be able to find someone who can also relate to your experience. There's probably a lot of unsaid things that people go through as a caregiver.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I think senior care, I mean, child care, we start talking about child care, right?
That's
Um,
true.
and I think like one of the reasons, like, it has a lot of hope,
Mm,
like, because they will grow up, they'll, do well, and or they'll bring a lot of benefits to the society. It's like,
mm.
like as a, they bring new life, and it's like a new thing that's happening. Versus like senior care, it's the opposite, right? And
Um,
so that's also, and it's like if when you say senior care, it's always come with like a negative uh,
yeah.
like image, like, oh, I have to start taking care of this person. It's
Mm,
like,
mm.
oh, it's time, time consuming. It's like, um, and that's the image that it has. And I mean, that's maybe like part of the reason why people don't talk about it. Um, yeah.
That's true. It's like like childcare is also a burden, but I think senior care is like a burden with no hope, みたいな. Like as horrible as it sounds, I think that's kind of the nuance it has, despite most of us having to do it in our lifetime. I've never thought about this aspect before. Yeah.
Like, who would, right? Coming back, flying back, I was like, okay, that's when this became like my reality. It's like part of
Mm,
my reality. I don't think like you would think about it until the moment
yeah.
comes,
Yeah,
but
for
it
sure.
actually comes, you know, in a very unexpected way.
When you were kind of transitioning into caregiving for your mom, were there any systematic challenges that you faced?
It's a lot of things, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Um, so one of the things is like, I mean, it's like maybe I don't know if it's like a cultural, but like more systematic stuff. Like in Japan, like maybe like after 1 week, I receive more papers than I would, in year in the
Mm.
US. Like flyers or like,
Oh.
all the stuff. Senior care is very like um low tech. Is like, that's the unfortunate, just like the truth. And if I want to apply for government support, it's always paper. It's always like, have to ask them, or like, now you can get the form online, but you still have to submit it probably with the paper, like,
Yeah,
after
like
you go to,
post mail.
like, there's no really like systematic approach
Mm.
and communicate. I mean, like, when a company, you have Slack, you have like Teams, there's no system like that in care field. As a tech person, that's one of the frustrations that I had with
Yeah,
senior care.
definitely different to Snowflake
Oh,
work style for sure.
100%, 100%.
It's like you're already overwhelmed with the things that you mentioned earlier, but added with that, it's like papers that you have to
Right.
deal with. You drew connections to childcare a couple of times earlier, but in terms of senior care, I'm wondering if the entire process of caregiving, senior care is like so overwhelming that by the time that it stops being overwhelming, as in maybe they pass or maybe they get moved into a facility, maybe the caregiver is just so exhausted from it that there's no desire to talk about it more and to create a startup or to create change. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with the space, but
One of the difference between childcare and senior care is like childcare, you start like, of course, like, the situation's different person to person, but like
Mhm.
how like child grows, I'm sure there's like similar pattern.
Mm,
Versus senior care, it's all like already very different person to person.
that's true.
Um,
True.
so that's also like why like it will be probably difficult to standardize,
Mm.
and it requires more personalized care.
Because everyone's condition or degree of severity or the rate of progression is also different for everyone. So, wow, I've never thought about that. すごい考えちゃう. So thank you for sharing your story to why you started to want to build CareVo. This one's a bit more about entrepreneurship and building startups in general. But from my interviews with founders, they often say that you should choose a problem that you'd be willing to sacrifice for. And I remember in our short chat at Stefan's event at Temple University that a big push for yourself to step away from a full-time job and start CareVo was exactly because this time around, it's a problem that is very personal to you. Could you explain that thought process more? And from, your experience now actually starting to build it, why should the startup idea be personal?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I mean, I just started my journey. Like founded CareVo this September. So it's been like 2 months,
Wow.
3 months.
Where'd it go?
So like at the end of the day, like you're solving a problem, right?
Mm,
Uh, and it could be like approach A, approach B, approach C, but at the end of the day, you're solving a problem.
mm,
So I think that's one thing. And like it's just like, it's been just two months, but of course, like emotionally, it's lots of ups and downs. Like, am I doing this correctly? Like, will this be, will I get customers? Is it am I doing the right thing? One of the good examples is like Canva,
mm,
um, Melanie Perkins. She received more than 100 rejections before, like from investors, and took her like 3 years to get first investment. You will likely go through that process, right? Like I like having like getting 100 rejections. It's like imagine that. Just like let
mm,
that sink in. It's like very difficult emotionally unless you truly believe in what you're trying to build. Or like it doesn't have to be startup, right? Like if you're trying to start something, like I think those like grit like definitely necessary. And for me, it was like it came from like my personal experience, and it was like, okay, I experienced this like firsthand, and there are lots of people. Like right now, there are 6 million people, 7 million people in
mm,
Japan using carry insurance, and their families, and there are lots of people experiencing similar, like, they're going through a similar experience to mine, right?
mm,
And so, yeah, I mean, like if so, that was like kind of easy for me to like. It was like, okay, this is worth solving.
mm, mm. That's true.
It doesn't have to be like a personal experience. It could be like, you experience like similar problems over and over again at work, and this is very interesting. I want to solve it. I think that's totally fine. But I think at the end of the day, you really want to like believe in the problem
Mm.
uh, that you think it's worth solving for.
I don't remember where I read it, but it was like um, the greatest founders or the greatest entrepreneurial people have like this vision of an ideal future. And what they're spending time and effort and money on at this current moment is a step towards enabling that future. Um, but based on this thing that I remembered, what does the ideal future look like for you in the process of building CareVo, do you think?
That's a very difficult question.
Like no fears, No restraints of like money or
Right.
yeah. What does that look like?
The ideal world I have is like if all the like care systems, like hospitals, they're all connected.
Mm,
You can like all logged in automatically. You know what's happening. Families just get the information that they need. Um, it's like no longer have to be doubtful
mm,
about what you're trying to do. I mean, at least like you get options and see how those options will lead. What's difficult about senior care is like you also need human companionship. My mom, like for example, like she always like I wanted to see me, or like
mm,
wanted to see me. And it's like those like human connections, it's what makes like our everyday life more, delightful.
mm.
And I think that's the case for seniors as well. So like technology can help a lot of things, but of course like human companionship and human like relationships are also necessary. So like how to balance those two will be like crucial in the
That's true. That's true. I think this is bringing up a very interesting point because we are talking about we live in a world where there are a lot of robotics innovations that are happening surrounding senior care, especially in Japan, I think, where we have a lot of old people, but we also have a pretty robust robotics, I don't know, talent pool or people. Um, but yeah, I'm forgetting that, you know. My grandma and my parents are humans too, and they want to interact with humans and feel human things, and robotics doesn't really cover that so far, maybe. Or maybe I'm being a pessimist here, but so
No,
far.
I mean that's a good discussion, right? I mean, like, if the robot can take care of a lot of like what care professionals do,
Mm,
that will be a game changer. With senior care, it's like it also like, has a lot of physical burdens. Well, like when I was with my mom at home, it was like I was basically prioritizing quantity over quality.
mm,
Right? But now that she's in nursing home, I'm prioritizing quality over quantity
mm, mm,
because every time I spend my time with her, like, like I only have like an hour or two. So I try to like have a great time with her.
mhm,
Versus if
mhm,
I live with her every single day, 24/7, that mindset is very difficult to come by.
mm, mm. That's
So maybe like with the AI enabled robot, that could be the same. Like, the robot can do a lot of things that are physically demanding. Um, but I can spend more quality time.
mm, mm,
So yeah.
definitely. Um, I have a question that might be a bit personal, so feel free to reject it and tell me that you don't want to answer it. But as a person who hasn't gone through that experience, there's a part of me that wonders why the choice to put your mom in a nursing home wasn't instinctive, like the first thing, because, caring for your mom while having a full-time job and also mentally dealing with the transition to move over was big. And we're talking about, the physical, mental burdens of caregiving at home. So I'm wondering kind of why someone wouldn't choose, or what is the hesitation, or what is the delay in actually making that decision? But feel free
Yeah,
to reject because it's a personal one as well, I'm
that
sure.
is that is a very important question, and I'm happy to answer.
Hmm.
So when I actually came back to Japan in 2022 spring, a lot of my mom's friend actually told me you have a choice of going back to the US. Like I should live my life, and she's just part of my life. Is
Mm,
basically what they're trying to say to me. And I think that's very true. You don't want to feel like you sacrifice everything to take care of someone. Like, like you have to be healthy, first of all, to take care of someone.
yeah.
But at the same time, I just could not do it.
Mm,
It's like, cutting my tie with my mom. Um, and like I wouldn't be able to come back to Japan like every month or so, right? And
Mm.
I wouldn't be able to see my mom. And maybe like, part of it was just like she helped me grow up and I wanted to help her. Yes, there's an option of sending her to a nursing home, but I guess like the question that I always ask was like, would I regret?
Mm.
Like if I, if like I wanted to try everything that I could, and if it doesn't work, then I would send her to to a nursing home. It's a very difficult question because
Mm.
um like how much is like I tried my best, you know.
Yeah.
It's like um so like my kind of like one measurement I had was like if I start regretting coming back to Japan, that's a yellow flag.
Mm.
And like around the time I like my mom had a respite care at a hospital, that's when I was having that thought. It's like I really regret coming back to Japan.
Mm.
um, so I told about it to the doctor, and then it's like they were like, okay, you should take a break, you should spend time separately. So that's how I actually decided to do a respite care.
Mm.
um, But yeah, that's a very good question.
Mm.
Like, everyone's probably different. How they think about it, how they approach it is very different.
Mm.
And like nursing home, sending someone to a nursing home doesn't mean you're neglecting that person, right? You
Mm.
don't want to feel like like you did a terrible thing. That's not true, right? So you have a lot of options. Maybe it sounds like very self-centered,
Mm.
but I think like you really have to take care of yourself first before
Mm.
taking someone. And of course you want to talk with with your senior.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I guess like not having the right support system around you to inform you of the options that you could take and how there could be stigma, but the stigma isn't justified is also a very important factor in that decision making as well. Thank you for sharing that. So the next question is, I want to talk about building from zero. So you're in the earliest stages. What does your day-to-day look like right now? And how are you approaching these first very crucial steps of understanding user needs and building your initial service?
Yeah, so every day is actually it looks very different.
Hmm.
I guess like my goal right now is to find 3 to 5 customers
Mm.
and get their feedback and see how this what I'm proposing is even like is well received or not. Like, is it
Mm.
actually helping someone? I guess like meeting a lot of people is
Mm.
basically what I'm trying to do right now. So it could be the care managers who can lead me to potential customers. It could be local people who are, doing senior care related stuff as a community service.
So a lot of like prototype talks and chit chats about
Yeah,
um, the the realm of support that you want to build surrounding CareVo, I guess.
yeah.
And you kind of mentioned a couple of ideal customers. Do you mind sharing what the ICP kind of looks like? What's the ideal customer profile that you're looking for?
Sure. So, because it's going to be a mobile platform
Mm.
or the web, it will be using technology. So like the users, I think seniors or the family caregivers, they need to be on using digital platform. So like the seniors actually they could be using care insurance. But they don't have to be using care insurance. Could
Mm.
be like just seniors living by themselves looking for some like companionship, could require more help with the care. It's not more about the age, it's more about their like behaviors and what they're interested in and what they
Mm.
want to achieve. And so yeah, and I'm finding that it's actually very difficult to reach out to those people. It's kind of very old, like approach of just like sending documents, just calling them, um, just talking to them in person,
Mm.
just like explaining the idea and it's like see if they're interested or not, see if they have anyone who would be interested as a customer. So it's very frustrating. So like care managers, like care professionals, like all those like family caregivers, non-family caregivers, just like having talking with them, kind of see what they're thinking. And it was like also learning that people in 65, 70s, they're very like active and energetic. Because
Mm.
like my mom, like she's in like 70s and because she has MSA, the situation is very different. Like that's what I'm learning. Like that only sample I had was my with my mom,
Mm.
and learning that like people are actually very like active. I wouldn't learn that if I'm just like staying at home, just like just writing something up or just typing something on my laptop. It's like I think like just going out there and just talking to people, and I think
Mm.
that really helps kind of um clearly understanding what's happening out there. And
I'd like to move on to the next question, which is a bit more about Japan as a whole. So we're seeing rapid advancement in caregiving technology. We kind of mentioned it a bit earlier as well, from AI-powered home systems that can detect falls, to wearables that monitor vital signs, to smart homes that help seniors maintain independence. As someone with both personal caregiving experience and a tech background, how do you envision senior care evolving in Japan over the next 5 to 10 years?
that is a very good question. A very good question. And 5 to 10 years, I'm not sure how much it's gonna change.
Mm.
Is also like, I mean, it's definitely changing, right? Technology is getting introduced, and like like one of the sticks that we have is like about 90% of the people in 60s and 80% of the seniors in their 70s have smartphones,
I didn't know that.
which is I was surprised by that too.
Damn, are they like on TikTok, like just watching, like Gen
Actually,
Z?
or maybe just talking, just like maybe a
Mm.
phone call or maybe text, but if they have smartphones, they want to do social media too, right?
That's true.
But I'm sure, like, I don't know how extensive they're using social media, but at least like they're scrolling and they're getting information.
Mm.
So I think just like people are becoming more like digital is definitely the trend. If you live by yourself, if you can use Amazon, you can get basically anything.
Hmm.
If you can use Uber Eats, you can get food. Like
Mm.
I mean, what you said about smart homes, like all those like sensors. I think like those combined, like if you have those like technology driven approach, you can definitely like stay at where you're more comfortable with. Like right now, care professionals help seniors go to a bathroom, go take a bath, like all the stuff, right? But
Mm.
if the robot can do it, you don't have to feel embarrassed to because like I think like always there's all these like thoughts like okay, someone has to take care of me going to the bathroom, going to take a bath. But with the
Mm.
robots, you might not feel that way anymore.
You're making me think of something that I can't remember the sources of anything that I think about these days, but um, it was a topic about immigration in Japan and how a lot of the more blue collar workers that immigrate into Japan end up in senior care. Um, they are the caregivers of the elderly in elderly homes. And I think that, I don't know, this is just a theory, but the government or officials are slotting them into those positions because it's so manually taxing. It's like physical labor that doesn't require skill or expertise necessarily, or at least that's how it's perceived. But, on this talk about technology and stuff, I'm seeing a world where caregiving might actually transition into a more psychological and mental companionship type thing.
You need both, right? The companionship, that's neglected
Mm,
more. I mean,
mm,
that's like it's treated as like nice to have. It's like a in addition to the physical side, like physical health will provide that. Of course, like, we have more workers from abroad coming into the senior care field.
mm,
I actually do I work at a nursing home once a week right now to get more hands-on experience.
mm,
But yeah, there are some people from Malaysia, Myanmar. I guess like what government's doing is like because we need more people in the senior care field. We have like around two 2 million care professionals in Japan, and
mm,
it's said to be we need 300K, 40,
mhm,
400K, 30万、40万
mm,
ぐらいの care professionals are needed.
mm,
So like
damn.
that's a lot of people.
And it's growing. That's the thing.
Yeah. So it's probably like short term solution is to have more people from abroad. That's for sure.
Mm,
Um,
that's a good point.
like you just imagine your 70s, 80s, 90s. What kind of life do you want to have?
Mm,
Because like you won't be able to go out as much as you do right now. Your friends might live a bit far and just like meeting might be a little difficult.
mm,
You will need help, um, maybe like going to the bathroom, going to take a bath. But is that all you want to do
mm.
during the day?
And we say senior or elderly as like a very blanket term, but there are many degrees and many different stages. And yeah, we're talking about a couple decades of a population of people. So, nah. So thank you for sharing all of that. Now we have the three final closing questions. The first one is, what is a book that you'd recommend?
Yeah, so I recently read a book called Fall in Love with the Problem, not the
Mm,
it's 問題に恋をしよう. It's about like a book like it tells you about like how to approach like entrepreneurship as a founder, also like like the mindset like and also like you can see the real examples of the author's like experience starting a startup and
mm.
how to navigate all the nuances. So just like it's related to entrepreneurship, I just found it very helpful and yeah, I highly recommend it.
I'll link it in the description of this episode. The second question is, what is something about Japan that you love but also hate?
I I guess like now that I come back to Japan, it's like I start liking Japan more. But I guess like I would say like the orderliness,
Hmm.
Japanese society. Um, it's it's definitely nice, but I sometimes miss like a chaotic nature of the US. Uh, just, like, I mean, just like walking around like the city, just like a lot of things are happening, a lot of noises there. It's noisy, but also like it's very lively.
Hmm.
Um, so
That's true, for sure. There's definitely a very stark difference to cities, for sure. And the final question is, how can the audience be helpful to you?
yeah, so I'm yes, I'm trying to find customers, but also trying to trying to get more feedback and also talk to a lot of people. So if you have personal experience taking care of seniors, like or your parents or seniors, or your parents are getting old and you're not doing anything, but you start worrying about them, I would love to talk. And if you happen to be software engineers who are interested in this field, I would love to, like, we should definitely talk. Um, yeah,
Okay. I'll link Yuta's LinkedIn in the description below so you
appreciate
can
it.
reach out to them.
Appreciate it.
Sounds good. And that's all the questions that we have for today. Anyone who wants to be part of CareVo, be sure to reach out to Yuta. Thank you, Yuta, so much again for sharing your story and being a guest on this podcast. Bye.
All right, bye bye.
Bye.